There are two reasons why you are poor. The first one is, of course, you can't find a job, or even if you find a job, it doesn't pay well. And that can be fixed because you can improve your skills and you can advance in your career, the career that you choose. The second reason why you are poor is because the money that we use is fundamentally broken. In other words, the money you are getting as a compensation for your time and efforts is collapsing in real time, is losing its value in real time. So what does that mean? It means that even if you are making money, you are still poor and you are still getting poor. So let's talk about the first issue, which is how to fix the first poor problem, which is the income. How do you get an income? Well, it's quite easy when it comes to income. You just have to learn a skill that other people want, and you have to market that skill. Now, this advice is widespread, of course. Everybody says this. Everybody say, well, just learn a high income skill and go sell it or whatever. But I think it's not as easy as it sounds, especially if you are not living in, how to say, an economically free country where you can actually do a lot of things without much bureaucratic hassles and regulations. So, if you are in the first world, I would agree you can do a lot of things to make money. It doesn't have to be like a complicated skill. You can just, there are a lot of jobs, in other words, there are a lot of jobs you can do to make some money and then think about how to do something else on the side. So if you are in the first world, you have a lot of options. If you are in the developing world, or if you are in the third world, that's the hard mode. Just like video games, you are living in hard mode. It's really difficult to get a job. It's really difficult to find a job, and it's really difficult. And even if you get that job, the income you get, when you take into consideration you are getting paid with a shall I say, low value currency. In other words, you are not getting paid in dollar or euro, you are getting paid in, I don't know, any other currency that is not as strong as these two, who are still collapsing, by the way. I'm not saying they are strong as in they are good, but they are still collapsing, but they are still better than the other currencies. So when you are making that kind of income and you are living in a developing or a third world country, it's really difficult to escape being poor in that situation. So the only thing you can do, both if you are living in a first world country or if you are living in a third world country, is at least save the little money you make and don't let it lose its value over time. And the only way to do that is Bitcoin. I mean, I've talked about this in my previous video. You can check it out. It's called The World's Greatest Financial Scam. I talk about how money, the government money, the fiat money, is a scam and why it's collapsing, why you are losing your savings and your time, expertise, labor, and effort that you put into your work in order to get that money. That money doesn't save all the efforts and labor and skill and time that you put into it. That money is defective. It loses its value. So the best asset you can use to save your money, to stop being poor, is Bitcoin. Okay, so you gotta save in Bitcoin. You gotta learn about Bitcoin, and you gotta save in Bitcoin. That's the first attempt. Now, let's say you are working for a year, 2 or 3, and you are saving in Bitcoin, and your capital now is growing in value because Bitcoin is not losing value. It's inflation free. In fact, it's the best performing asset for the past decade. So you're gonna make some money from investing or saving in Bitcoin. Then you would have some capital to think about something else you can do, some other business, some other service you can invest in, some other stuff that you can do online. So I think Bitcoin, getting a normal job and then saving in Bitcoin and then making some money from that investment or saving account that is Bitcoin will give you more leeway, more capital to think and to become how to say, to have a long-term vision. Because when you have savings, you switch from high time preference to low time preference. I've talked about this many times. High time preference means you only think about now, you only think about today and tomorrow. Low time preference, you have a long-term vision. You think about 5 years down the road, or 10 years down the road, or even generations down the road. So if you really want to make good decisions, you have to have low time preference. And the only way to have low time preference is you have to have capital. And if you want to have capital, you have to save your money. And if you want to save your money effectively, you have to do it with the ultimate perfect money the world has ever seen, and that is Bitcoin. So you are poor because maybe you have a low income job, or you have a job but the currency with which you are being paid is not very good. You are in some developing country or some third world country. So that's the first issue. You can think about it once you have some capital that you've saved with Bitcoin. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do anything during that time. I mean, if you can do your regular day job and then think of some other business that you can do on the side, online or otherwise, it's good. But what I also noticed is that if you think too much, and if you are spreading yourself way too much, or as they say, spread yourself too thin, you're not going to be able to succeed in anything. You might even lose your day job because your focus is completely scattered. So I would rather focus on your day job and then save in Bitcoin. And maybe in 3 years, 4 years, you're going to have enough capital to make the pivot and to do something else. Now you can keep your job, then you can even focus, you can keep doing your job, and then you can focus more on your side hustle. I'm not gonna call it side hustle, I'm calling it on your other business that you really want to make succeed and put real effort and time into it. So yeah, you are poor because you work a low-income job, because you are in a developing country and the government puts a lot of regulations, a lot of hassles for you to start a business or to do some entrepreneurial kind of job. So in that situation, it's completely out of your control. You can't really control it. But at least what you can do is find any kind of job and save in Bitcoins. Bitcoin is the tool that's going to allow you to perhaps one day escape once you have enough capital and once you have enough peace of mind, because you have savings that are growing in value, that are appreciating in value. It will give you peace of mind to think clearly and think more rationally about what you can do to improve your situation. So yeah, if you want to learn more about Bitcoin, if you want to understand money, if you want to understand the money in Bitcoin, go watch my video. I will link it here or here. It's called the world's greatest financial scam. I explain what money is, what is Bitcoin, why Bitcoin is the best, perfect, hardest money in the history of mankind, and why you should to get into it. So that's all I have to say today. Hope you enjoyed my video. If you did, subscribe, like, comment, send it to a friend that you think might gain value from it, and see you on the next one. Take care.